So let's talk about the best hair decision I ever made. I'm coming up on my 2-year lockversary in about 6 weeks, but I wanted to make this video to talk about just how happy I've been with my whole lock journey, and also share with you the before and how my lock journey started and kind of what I've learned along the way. But before I get into that, let me show you what my hair used to look like. I used to wear my hair flat ironed most of the time, but a couple years before I got locks, I decided to cut all my hair off, so I did a whole big chop. It had already been natural for about 10 years before I started my locks, but I would just 2-strand twist my hair most of the time if I didn't have it flat ironed, or like I said, the big chop that I did. So very close sister friend told me, she's been locked for about 10 years. She was like, get locks, you won't regret it. But I didn't listen. I'm a little hard-headed. But finally, about 2 years ago, I decided to go ahead and start my lock journey. I started my lock journey with the coil method, and I found a loctician to start my locks. I didn't feel confident starting them on my own, and I've stayed with my loctician throughout the last 2 years. So I don't retwist my own locks. I go to the loctician for that. Also because I decided when I first started my locks to get a diagonal pattern, so I just don't feel comfortable doing the parts. So to me, going to the loctician is just the best route for me. So when I started my locks, I had just cut my hair maybe a couple months before that into a short bob. So they were kind of short when I started, and they were really soft. They look like soft, tight curls to me. And it stayed like that for a couple of months, really. I decided to get my locks retwisted every 6 weeks because that's what the loctician recommended. And so I continue with that, but I would say the first 6 months of me being locked, my hair was really fine, and it didn't really, to me, it didn't look locked. It just looked like it was fuzzy and curly. But as I know now, all locks go through different stages, so I just was going through the stage at that point. I enjoyed wearing my locks, even when it was in that kind of awkward stage of not being quite locked. Still enjoyed wearing them. I still felt really proud about having locks finally, and I'll tell you, this is the best hair decision I think I've ever made in my entire life. I would say it took a full year until I finally saw my locks really take the form that I was looking for in the beginning. I got my locks retwisted that first year. It kind of went out of that curly phase because my locks used to be really curly on the ends, like it just looked like little curls, little Shirley Temple curls. So it took a good year for that phase to kind of be done with and then really be locked. And then I decided at my 1-year lockversary to add these little beads. I don't know if you can see them in the light, but I got these little, they call them sparkles, or sprinkles, lock sprinkles. So I put these little beads at the end of my locks, and they've stayed in my hair this entire time. I thought they'd only stay for 6 months, but I just wanted to add a little razzle dazzle to my locks. And so I definitely took some beads that I already had and just basically sewed them into my locks. Which, even though I love the lock sprinkles, I would say I cannot count the amount of times that I've had people ask if they can touch my hair now that I added these little lock sprinkles. So I don't know if it's because it's so sparkly that people are like, oh, let me touch. Can I touch? Can I touch? And no, we know that's a no-no. So just keep that in mind if you ever decide to get lock sprinkles, that people might be even more fascinated to touch your hair. So I also noticed through the first year that it didn't really grow as much as I thought it would. The locks definitely got thicker. I don't think they had a lot of length to them. I mean, I know they were growing, but it just didn't seem like they were really long as I thought they would be at the 1-year mark. I know it was only a year, but I thought they'd be a teeny bit longer. I will say this last year of being locked, my 2nd year of being locked, I feel like my locks are more full and length is starting to come in more. I've noticed over the last 3 to 6 months, I feel like they're getting longer. And I have to say, I'm just really happy with them. I don't have any complaints. I ain't used a comb in 2 years and I don't miss it. I don't even see old hairstyles that I used to have. Like if I go out and I see somebody have a hairstyle that I used to wear, I don't miss wearing that hair. I don't miss getting a flat iron. I don't miss any of that. I love, love, love my hair. And I'll tell anybody to lock their hair if they're even thinking about it, to just do it. The reason why I wanted my locks was because I had talked in other videos about how I was going through cancer. At some point, I didn't know if I was going to lose my hair. And so my plan was I would just shave my hair, and then when my hair would grow back after treatment, I would reattach the locks back. So that was like my backup plan in case I lost my hair during chemo treatment. So that was another thing that I really appreciated about having locks, because it was like I had my own hair replacement strategy, if you will. Thankfully, I didn't lose any hair during chemo, so I didn't have to do that, but it was definitely a backup just in case. And that's something I wouldn't have been able to do if I didn't have locks. So here's a couple of things that I've learned over the 2 years that I've been locked. The first thing that I learned is it's definitely a journey. It's a process. And if you're going from being someone who's had their hair straight to locked, it's definitely something that you're going to have to get accustomed to. And so that awkward phase is just something you just have to ride out. But there's so many ways to kind of dress up your locks that make it less awkward for you, so it's nothing to worry about. Second thing is you can do your own retwist, but if you can, check in with a loctician, a really good one, just to make sure that your locks are well maintained and they're growing right. Just to check in with a professional. There's nothing wrong with that during your lock journey. I would recommend it. Even if you do, like I said, lock it, retwist and lock it on your own, just check in with a professional to give you any tips and advice. The third thing is keep them moisturized. I use rose water and Shine a Lock. It's like a spray that you can put on your locks. I use that in my locks all the time just to keep them moisturized and not as dry. And of course, you want to always wear your bonnet. I wish I did that every night, but sometimes I do forget. But wear your bonnet so that you can keep the lint and stuff out of your hair, because that can definitely build up. But if you're thinking about getting locks, definitely go for it. I don't regret it one bit. Like I said, it's the best hair decision I've ever made. They're easy to maintain. At least mine have been easy to maintain. I do know some people have some issues with little things that can happen, like thinning and stuff like that. Thankfully, I haven't had to go through that. But overall, I think they're much easier to maintain than what you may have been accustomed to before. If you just wrap your hair up, keep it moisturized, and stay on your retwist. You want to get your retwist every 6 weeks about. Some people go longer as their locks mature, and you can do that too. But it's super easy, low maintenance to me, in my opinion. So that has been my lock journey so far. I look forward to many more years of being locked. I don't ever see myself going back to how my hair was before. I feel like this is the hairstyle I'm going to have, and they'll just get longer and longer. So thanks for watching me share about my lock journey. If you want to know more about me, check out another video. I'll have it linked somewhere around this video. And I'll see you in the next video. Bye.